What's up, everybody? It's Raghav here. I'm at Drumeo Studios today, and you guys just heard two versions of the same track. One that felt good, and one that really, really didn't. So in this video, I'm just gonna go into why one did and why one didn't. Why one made you feel good, why one made you groove, and why one made you want to leave. So let's stick around and let's see what's good about it. Now, as a drummer, your main purpose, whether you like it or not, is to be the backbone of the band and to really keep the time and keep the groove and make it feel really great. So in this lesson, I'm just gonna go over how to do just that, and I'm gonna give you some exercises and some tips on how to correlate each of your limbs to what the song is doing so that you can get that perfect groove. You can really put it in that pocket. All right, so the first part of the drum set we're gonna talk about is the bass drum, or the kick drum. So I think the kick drum is really the big foundation of your groove and of the sound of the whole drum set in general. So we might correlate that to something like the bass guitar, as that provides a similar function in a band setting. So let's listen to the track and let's see how these two can complement each other. So the way that this track works is it's a disco track. First, we have to take into account the style of the whole music. So this is disco. We have the bass drum and the bass guitar, in this case, have to complement each other. So the bass guitar in this, as you heard, was doing, in ostinato, was going bum, 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 don't, don't, do, do, don't, don't, do, 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 don't, don't, do, do, don't, multiple times. And then after that, it went to a bass fill that was higher up on the neck, that bum, do, 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 bum. So you have to take into account that information. You have to set the bass drum in the way that these two instruments do not clash with each other. So I would do something like keeping just a solid quarter note on the bass drum, as the bass guitar is doing something that's a little more dense than what you'd expect from a track. It'd be nice to keep the kick drum a little more simple and just grounding. So here's something that you might do. Let's listen to the track and let's play to it and let's see what you might do. So as you can see there, I kept the bass drum simple, and in the spaces, I did like 1 or 2 extra notes just to, give it a little push. But other than that, it was fairly simple, just meat and potatoes, just kind of thing. So now, what's something you might not want to do? The opposite. Keep the bass very, very, complex and very, very dense, and have it so that it clashes the bass guitar. That's something you might not want to do. So let's listen to the track and see what we can do that is probably not the best example. Obviously, that is a very, very, very extreme version of what you might not want to do, but I think that speaks for itself. I mean, it was the two instruments were just clashing. I mean, you couldn't make one from another. You really bob your head to it because everything was just, it was sporadic. All the fills, I guess you could say, on the bass drum were just kind of here and there. It was not in one place and it wasn't really grounded. All right, so the next part of the drum set, the next limb we're going to look to is the snare drum. Now, the snare is tricky in a way that it can be correlated to multiple different instruments. But in this case, the instruments we have in the track are a synth, we have the bass guitar, and we also have a guitar. So as the synth is not really too dense, I think the thing we'd equate it to is the guitar. So the guitar is playing something like so it's also a very dense instrument in this setting. So much like the bass drum, you might want to keep the snare drum very simple. In this case, I'd say hitting it on the 2 and 4, because as we know, this style of music is disco style, and a lot of what people really want to hear when they want to dance is that that really solid foundation. So something like that, I think, might really do you good in the song. So let's listen to the track, and I'll put the bass and the snare together, and we'll see what that sounds like. Something you might not want to do on the snare is, like you did on the bass, is lots of ghost notes, very, very subdivided notes, and lots of them in one space, making it really dense, again, clashing with what the guitar would do. So let's listen to the track, and I'll play something that sounds like that. As you can see, that's another complete extreme as to what might not work, and that's like, you know, the guy who's invited to the jam session and just, you know, never comes back. He's just kind of fades away from the scene. But yeah, something like that again was clashing with the guitar, and I added the sporadic bass drum stuff in there so you guys can see if you do all the things that you might not want to do, just might want to stay clear of how it might sound and how it might, you know, how I can demonstrate that it clashed with the other instruments. The next part of the drum set we're gonna touch base on is the hi-hat. Now, for the other instruments or for the other parts of the drum set, I've kept it fairly simple. You know, the kick and the snare was going like a 1 and 3, 2 and 4, simple stuff. But with the hi-hat, what I'm playing is something like this. So with the hi-hat, it's a little more dense, and here I'll explain why. So the hi-hat, as we know on the drum set, is it's a little higher frequency of a sound. And in this track specifically, we don't have much of that. You can maybe say that the guitar is a higher frequency, but judging by what I can hear right now and the fact that it's on the track that I made, the guitar is on a lower fret, it's on a lower part of the guitar, and the notes aren't that high. If you were playing something, you know, an octave higher than what was there now, the hi-hat might not be playing something really, really complicated. But having something that is in the higher frequency that is just there to remind you to keep the track going a little bit and just push it a little bit, I think that's what the hi-hat's job is. So, and the last thing is there's a balance. There's a very fine line between playing something that's musical and that fits the track, and playing something that's in this case too complex, and maybe playing, you know, like 16th notes, just like going really fast kind of thing. So here I'll play the track and I'll show you what I'm doing on the hi-hat and how it correlates to the whole set. So that's what to do, and again, as we have a what to do example, we've got to have a what not to do. So here's what not to do when you're playing the hi-hat. All right, so again, another complete extreme as to what you do not exactly want to do when it comes to the hi-hat. And I think the big thing that you guys can take away from all of the parts of the drum set that I've explained to you today is that it all has to be really musical. The big thing, and by musical, I mean something that doesn't step on the toes of any other instrument. So, like for the snare drum, I was playing some really weird, complicated thing, which is maybe cool in another setting when the guitar is going bump, bump, like when the guitar isn't playing, it's a really sparse guitar, or when there's sparse like keys line or something like that. But something that doesn't step on the other toes, but also has its own voice and has its own way to push the track forward. So thank you guys for watching this video on how to make a groove feel great and how you can correlate each part of your drum set to a track that you listen to. Hope you guys have learned something from this, and I hope you guys get better from listening to this video. Thanks.